Hi, welcome back to the Astro Imaging channel, everyone. We have Ron Brecher as our speaker tonight. I'm sure you all know Ron. Hi, Ron. One of the experts on PixInsight, always has something interesting to talk about, and tonight he's going to talk about masking. Before we do that, a couple of, announcements. We have hit 20,000 subscribers, like people that come to, well, they don't all come to the channel every week. 20,000, that's a big milestone for someone that does kind of a niche hobby of astrophotographer, because I don't know how many astrophotographers there are in the world. There's 5,000, 10,000, 20,000, but we have 20,000 people that have clicked the button and liked the Astro Imaging channel, and that's really cool. We have worked a long time. What's it been, 11, 12 years we've been doing this? Alex, I've kind of forgotten.
But we missed the 12th anniversary show because we got busy.
Oh, cool. So a couple things before we get started. I just want to go to the calendar. I'm going to share my screen. Just give me a moment. Share the entire screen. Entire screen. After all this time, I still think for a moment before I do this. So a couple things you're all seeing the calendar now?
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
Okay.
And we're seeing it in high def thanks to, we're seeing it in high def thanks to Molly's innovations.
Yes, congratulations to Molly. We got 1080p. A feature that's been requested for as long as I can remember on the show and wondering why we couldn't do it. Yes, we are now broadcasting at 1080p. So all that little minuscule type that Ron's going to present tonight will all be readable on the screen. So tonight we have Ron, and we're usually doing the first and third Sundays, but since 2 weeks from now is Labor Day, we're not going to do the 31st. So our next show will be the 7th of September, I think, comes after August. And that'll be John Hayes. And John Hayes, another superstar in astrophotography, always gives fascinating shows. And after John, remember Ron Palmier? We had him on and we had all sorts of technical difficulties and his internet wouldn't connect. So he's coming back to have the correct identification of LDNs. I love LDNs. LDNs and bright nebula are really cool things to photograph. Then that's the 21st, and then Craig Stocks will be back. We've had him before, and then John Talbot on the 19th. I'm actually working with John and Peter Goodhue and a couple more people on this discovery of nebula around cataclysmic variables. That's really a cool subject. We do have some open slots after that, and as usual, we always ask that if somebody has an idea, they go to the astroimagingchannel.org, and there's a little contact form. Send us a note and tell us what you'd like to talk about, and pretty good odds you're going to be on the show and on our schedule, and we really appreciate that. So if that's all for that, I'm going to stop sharing. And if I missed anything? If not, Ron, the show is yours.
Okay, well, first of all, thanks for having me here, everybody. Nice to see you all. And, you know, I actually talked on this topic a little over 2 years ago. If you look back in your archives, I think it was in February 2023, I talked about new mask making tools at that time. And that's just a testament to how much PixInsight has changed, even just in the past couple of years. So let me share my screen with you. Give me 1 second here. Okay, here's my screen. And I'm going to start with a slideshow just to introduce the idea of masks and tell you what I want to talk about. I think the most important word on this slide is stencil. And it's in the in the subtitle there, making stencils for the sky. That's the way I think of masks, that they're stencils that allow you to selectively do things to certain parts of an image while protecting other parts of an image. So tonight I'm going to talk a little bit about what masks are, why they're useful. I'm going to just refresh your memory on the traditional tools, which many of which are not used anymore because there's some fabulous new tools that I'm going to talk about. And in particular, I want to have some fun with tools that are meant for doing other things, but actually do a really good job making masks. And as usual, I'll leave you with a few resources that where you can get more information about PixInsight. So I've already said masks are stencils for your Astro photos. They allow you basically to paint certain parts of the image while protecting others. Now, when I say paint, you see it's in quotes. The paint could be like color paint, red, green, or blue, but it could be sharpen paint, or it could be blur paint, or maybe it's brighten paint or darken paint. You can paint through that mask with any image process that you like. So masks are black and white images. You can see an example of a mask on the left. And it might help you to remember that in a mask, black protects, white selects. So wherever the mask is black, what's under that mask is protected. Where the mask is white, it's going to be selected. Now, when you put a mask onto an image, it can't just display as black, or it would look a lot like most Astro photos. So a mask that's on top of another image in place displays as red for the black parts of the mask. And there's a setting in PixInsight. You can change that to any color that's convenient, but most people just keep it as red. So black protects, white selects. Really good mantra to remember there. Another analogy besides a stencil is, you know, when if you've ever had to go to the doctor to have a wart removed or something, some little thing treated on your arm or leg, or maybe some work done on a tooth. They don't really want to see your whole body. They use a mask that covers everything that they don't want to see and just leaves exposed the bit that they want to work on. So that's another analogy that might help you kind of understand how masks select and protect. In reality, whenever you make one mask, you've made two masks, because any mask can easily be inverted. So on the left, we're protecting all the background and selecting the galaxy near the center. On the right, we're protecting the galaxy in the center, and whatever we do is going to work on the background. So we could do some nice noise reduction here, or we could work on those background stars or the background brightness, all kinds of things we could do. So always remember, when you're making one mask, you've made two. You can always use it the other way. I also tell my students, masks don't have to look good, they have to work well. Some masks really don't look good at all. The proof is in the pudding. You have to test your process in a preview using the mask to see how well it works. Okay, let's talk for a minute about two traditional mask making tools. These were in PixInsight back when I started using it in 2009, and they're still there. There's the StarMask tool, which is a really wonderful wavelet-based tool. It used to be much more important than it is right now. The reason why StarMask is not really important anymore is that most of us take the stars out of our image fairly early on in the processing. And most of what we do to the deep sky object in the image, we no longer have to worry about damaging the stars because we've taken them out. So StarMask, while it works really well, and I can still imagine some special uses for it. For example, the contours. You see this contours box here for making rings around all your stars if you want to handle halos. For the most part, StarMask really isn't very useful anymore. I will show you why once we get into the processing and what's replaced it. The range selection tool is the other sort of original mask making tool. And what it does is it selects a range of brightnesses. Right now you can see it's set to select every brightness from 0 to 1. So if you looked at this mask, it would be all white. And again, we'll have a quick look at this to compare it to a couple of other tools. But this is about newer tools. I did talk about this in 2023. I talked about Exterminator, which was relatively new at the time. I think it just came out late in 2021 or early 2022. We talked about the enhanced color mask, and the game script was a game changer at that time. That was the interactive Galaxy Mask editor. But there's some new kids on the block, and while Exterminator, I still use it on every image. The game script, less so. Enhanced color mask, less so. Because now we have the Fame script, and you're going to see selective color correction, which isn't designed for making masks, is a great mask making tool. It's one of those ones that I said maybe you've used it but never thought about using it for making masks. Same with Dark Structure Enhance. Same with Extract Wavelet layers. All three of those not designed for making masks, but they do a really good job at it. And then I'm going to show you these three other tools: Binarize, Fame, and the Mask Merge script. If you want more resources on PixInsight, a good place to start is Warren Keller or Rogelio Bernal Andreo's book. So Inside PixInsight by Warren, Mastering PixInsight by Rogelio. Mastering PixInsight is a little bit more recent, but these make good companions to each other. I was the technical editor on Warren's book, so I can vouch for that. My website with Warren and Pete Prue is mastersofpixinsight.com. We have workshops. We have recorded videos, which we call PixInsight University. And there's also a bunch of free content there, so I urge you to check it out. I teach one-on-one. You can contact me by email, rbrecher@rogers.com. And of course, there's some excellent free tutorials, both on the PixInsight.com forum, and PixInsight.com has a YouTube channel that has some good resources there now. So I encourage you to check those things out. Also, check out my website, astrodoc.ca. This is me on a happy day with a bottle of what my daughter calls wobbly pop in my observatory. I love to teach. I like to write. I'm a contributing editor for Sky and Telescope, PixInsight ambassador, and I love doing the Astro Imaging channel. So thanks again for having me. So let's get out of the slideshow and into PixInsight. That's what we're really here for. And I have a couple of partly processed pictures that I'm going to use for this demonstration. And I guess the first thing I want to do is explain why I don't use the StarMask tool anymore. And it's really because of Exterminator. I want to just show you something quickly. I have Exterminator here. And if I just apply it, maybe I'll open it so you can just see the settings. These are default settings except for unscreened stars. If I just go ahead and apply this image, process. By the way, this is a nonlinear image. It's been stretched, but this works just as well on linear images that have not been stretched. There's my stars. And if I just extract the lightness channel from those stars, remember I said a mask is a black and white image. This is now a top-notch star mask. It's a better star mask than I can make with the StarMask tool. And probably the first thing I would do so I don't lose track of what I made and what it's for is I would change the name to Script StarMask. So that's how I make a star mask these days. And like I say, it works if the image is not stretched. Once you take the stars out, you do have to stretch them. But you can do that in all kinds of really straightforward ways. So it doesn't need to be difficult at all. Okay, I'm not going to keep the stars for the moment. We might use them later. And it's so easy to make that. I won't keep that either. We'll keep the desktop nice and clean. And I think I'm just going to stay here. Okay, the FAME script, or sorry, the Binarize script is the next thing that I want to show you. The Binarize script is an option for range selection. So remember I said range selection was one of the original mask making tools. If I go to mask generation, there it is, the range selection tool. Remember, I'm going to work on this image here on the left. Remember I said that because we're selecting everything from black all the way up to white, when I get a real-time preview, the mask is just going to be all white. But I can easily dial out the darker parts of the image. It gets kind of hard to get much better resolution than that there. And then I have to, and I can smooth that a little, but I'm still losing a little resolution. So as an alternative to that, try this method. Again, we're going to extract the lightness. By the way, I made this icon to reinforce this with you, but that icon is doing the same as this button up here, extracting the CIE lightness. So extract the lightness because we want the mask to be black and white. Open up Binarize and get a real-time preview. In a binarized image, every pixel is either black and white. There's no shades of gray. So we can make that smaller or we can make it bigger. You can use it on color images, by the way. You see the G and the B channels. I don't know why you would do that. But it does work very well for making masks. So you can get really selective in here. And it's easy, right? One control. When you're there, go ahead and apply it. Close it. And then use convolution to just blur that mask a little. It's blurred enough now. So I'll go ahead and apply that. And now that we've made a mask, why don't I refresh your memories on how to use a mask? So once you've made a mask, so I'm going to select the brighter parts of the galaxy and some of these other outlying galaxies. I'm going to protect all the background and the really dim stuff here. So there's a few different ways you can put a mask on, but by far the easiest, here, let's get rid of that. By far the easiest is to drag the View Identifier tab. That's this little tab that every image has. Drag the View Identifier tab onto the sidebar of the image that you want to cover, you want to mask, and then release. And now that image is masked. Another way to operate with masks is by right-clicking on the image, you get access to a mask context menu. So I'll remove the mask again. But if I right-click on this image and go to mask, I can select any mask, any image with the same geometry. And this is the one we just made. I can also decide whether to invert that mask if I put it on by this method. So I can uninvert or I can invert. Uninvert. The other thing you can do in the mask menu is you can enable or disable a mask. By default, it's enabled. You can hide the mask. So how do you know that it's still there? Well, look at the View Identifier tab. You notice that it's brown. That's telling you that it's still there. And you can use that mask menu to unhide it, or here's a mask menu in your top toolbar. Select, remove, invert, enable, hide or show. Okay, so as I look at this mask, I can see that I haven't selected everything that I want. I'd really like a little bit more of the outlying spiral arms. So I'm actually going to take the mask off the image and I'm going to delete it and do it again. I've learned from looking, never be afraid to go back. We're going to extract the lightness again and bring up Binarize. There it is. This time I'm not going to go down too far. Oh, maybe like that. And I just applied it. So there's my Binarize mask. I'm going to bring Convolution up. This time I'm going to blur a little more. And again, I can get a preview of what that blur looks like. There we go. You don't want hard edges in your mask. Now we'll put the mask in place. That's better. And now I can do whatever I want through that mask. So maybe I want to spray some brightness paint. Right? That's obviously too much. But that's kind of nice. Before, after, before, after. Still too much here. Could spray some saturation paint. Add some color in there. So Binarize is a nice quick way to make a mask. Like I said, only got one control. You have to convolve it afterwards, but that's really easy. You can set that convolution tool up so you just have to drag it over. You don't even have to open it. Okay, that's Binarize. Fame script. I don't know how many of you have used Photoshop. I used Photoshop before I got into PixInsight. So from around, I don't know, for 5 years, starting in around 2004, I never got very good at it, but I got good enough to know about curves. And one of the things that was really important when you used curves was to be able to use a mask that was made usually with the lasso tool, where you could draw a free-form shape around an object to make your mask. And we've never had that in PixInsight until recently. But if you've installed SETI Astro's set of scripts, and you know what, I think tomorrow I'm going to email Molly with my repositories, a list of all my repositories, and you can add those and get access to some of the scripts that I'm going to be mentioning tonight.
Yeah, I'll add those links.
Okay, that way I don't really need to go through them all. I will show you how to install scripts. What you're going to do is go to Updates, Manage Repositories, and Add, and then paste in a link from my repository list. Click OK, and OK again, and then Resources, and check for updates. And then it will find them and load them, and you'll be able to try them. Okay, the Fame script is what I wanted to talk about. Like I said, it's in SETI Astro.
Ron?
Yes?
Hi, this is Alex. We have some questions coming in. Would you like to take them at the end?
Why don't you give me a few now, and we'll see what they're like.
Okay. If you're binarizing, John at Astra wants to know, if you're binarizing, sometimes you get some hard edges. Do you just go back and convolve some more, or what do you do?
Yeah, I use convolution.
Just get okay. And Keith wants to know, he just says he finds them unnatural. The whole idea of mask is unnatural. what's the major use of benefit, the major benefit of using a mask as opposed to simply adjusting brightness and color without a mask? That may not be clear to some of our viewers.
Why don't I just show you?
Okay.
So, and then we'll take another question. So if I just open curves, there's no mask on this image right now. And, you know, just for the purpose of, I wish I had a less saturated version of this, but I'm going to saturate it more. And I don't know how well you can see it, but I've got saturation going all over the place where I really don't want it. In the halo, in the background, I can see it. What I'd really prefer to do is just put saturation where I want it. So what I would do is extract the lightness. And I don't even need to adjust this mask very much. I could just use a very quick curve to make the dark parts darker and the bright parts brighter. Here's my mask. I'll put it in place. Now I can very selectively add color just where I want it.
Just to the galaxy.
Yeah, look, I've really popped the core. This is way too much color for me. I would never do this. I'm just trying to demonstrate the ability to select and protect different regions. And I'm just doing this with color. It's also apropos to think about sharpening. So for example, when I sharpen near the very end of my workflow, I want to sharpen in regions like this, where there's plenty of detail to see. I do not want to sharpen in regions like this, where there's very little detail to see. Same with noise reduction. I might want noise reduction in the background, but not in the deep sky object. Similarly, sometimes you might want to protect one star. So let me show you that. This is all good. It is a bit of a diversion, but it's all good stuff. So we had the stars in here, and I took them out. If I just quickly make a star mask. So Star Exterminator to make my star mask. Okay, there's my stars. What I can do now is I can use the clone stamp and stamp out these very bright stars. Let's change the radius to something like 80 and the opacity to, I don't know, 40% or so. And what I can do is I can dim these stars in the mask. I could click this as many times as I like, just so that I'm really getting rid of these very bright stars, or most of them. They don't have to be completely gone. And I'm doing this at light speed. Normally I would be so much more careful doing this. But what's going to happen now is I could use this mask on this image and add color to all the other stars without blowing out these bright ones that I stamped. So I can add a ton of color to the other stars and nothing happens to the ones that I protected. I can think of 100 uses for masks. And I'm going to show some of them to you tonight.
Okay, great.
And
you know, other questions.
There, by the way, there's no rules that you must or must not use masks. The only rule in astrophotography, in my opinion, is you're supposed to enjoy it, have fun. And there's a lot of different ways to make nice pictures. Doesn't matter to me whether you do or don't use a mask, or how you make the mask for that matter. Okay, I was about to talk about the fame script. So let's talk about the fame script. sometimes we need to just select a small region for repair or enhancement. And I want you to notice that if I really boost the color here, this is kind of purple up here. You see that purple patch? I'd like to make it more like the rest of the image. Don't worry about the orange color. We'll deal with that separately in a moment in a different demonstration. But I'd really like to do something about that purple patch. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to use the fame script. I'll execute it in the global context because it's a script. And that's going to bring up this window. And the fame script is the freehand mask editor. And it is that, how do I say it? That lasso tool that you had in Photoshop. And you know, I meant to do something before I opened this. I want to apply that curve that I just had so that we can see the purple. So there it is. So now it's really easy to see that purple. So now I'm going to go into my fame script. And we can really see the purple over here now. There's instructions in the left top box. You can use a brush, a spray can, ellipse, or a rectangle. But what the magic is with this tool really is the freehand shape tool. And I'm going to just hold the shift key and start drawing my freehand shape. And release. Now I'm going to set a blur amount. Usually around 50 to 75 is pretty good. You have all these choices. You can make a mask that's just binary, black and white. You can make a lightness mask, which is based on the brightness values. Doesn't work on linear images. You can make a chrominance mask that's based on how much color saturation. But this whole image has a ton of color saturation because I saturated it so we could see the defects. Or you could make it just pick the red or the blue or the green. I just want a binary mask. So when you're ready, you can set execute. And there's the mask. It might not look like it's blurred. It never does. But when you put the mask in place, you'll see that it is blurred. And now I can change that purple to something else. Let's select. First of all, I've got to undo. Remember I put that big color saturation on? I have to undo that because we don't want to screw that up. Put the mask back in place. And let's get a real-time preview. Remember where the mask is. I'm just going to show you by pulling down the red where the mask is. Okay, you can see what I masked. So now let's reset it and see if we can adjust the blue a little bit. So I'm going to go in here and measure how blue it is. You see the line that's appearing. There's a line that's appearing in the tool. So that's kind of where I want to pull it down a little bit. And you see how it turned green there? I have to bring the curves back up, both above and below, and then make it so that it's just not visible. And I can add more saturation so I can see better. That's made that really red. Let's reset it. Let's get the blue again. And you might have to mess with more than one color channel. There we go. So I have to take the red and the blue down a little bit. Now I can release the saturation. I didn't really want to change that. And that's how you can use that type of a mask. Also very useful for dealing with defects due to uneven field illumination that's left over after flat correction. Okay, so I'm not even going to apply this right now. I just wanted to show you how to make that mask. We don't need to keep it. Oh, yeah, let's keep it. In fact, I'm trying to think about how to do this, the best way to do this. I'm going to close that. I'm going to use the game script. I mentioned it, but I didn't include it in this icon set or in the formal part of the presentation because I did it last time, a couple of years ago. But it's useful for this demonstration. So I'm going to go into utilities and open the game script. And the game script is good for adding ellipses to select. And maybe I want to and I'm going to add another one right here. So imagine that I was working on this image and at some point I wanted to do some work on these two dark patches. And so I made these nice soft gradient masks. I made that gradient mask there. And then separately, suppose that I had made a mask with range selection. And with range selection, let's see. Sorry about that. I'll find it again. Range selection. We got the nebula and the stars, but then I smoothed it all out. There we go. So now I've got two masks. Maybe you know this and maybe you don't know this about PixInsight, but if you have two images with the same geometry and you put them one over the other and press on the title bar, the top image goes translucent. You can change the order here, put this one on top. What if I want to subtract this mask from this mask or add this mask to this mask so that I fill in these areas here pretty well? So there I'm going to use mask merge. So I've got my range mask and my gradient mask. We'll go to the mask merge script. And again, this is in SETI Astro. So we pick the base mask. We pick the second mask, which is the range mask. And we can add them together and preview the combined mask. So you can see that's an addition. Here's where they intersect. You can do a subtraction. So that used the second mask to improve the selection of the first mask. You can also add a third mask if you want and then you can blur the whole thing. When you're ready, click on Generate, and you'll have the new mask executed, and then you can use that mask for whatever you want. So that's the mask merge tool. Very handy. You do find yourself making lots of different masks, and sometimes it's really helpful to put them all together. Okay, I want to get into this last block of tools here. These are tools that are not made for making masks, but they do a great job of it, and you can take advantage of that. We'll start with Dark Structure Enhance, DSE, part of the standard PixInsight toolbox. Here's our M63 image. I'm going to remove the mask and undo any things that I did to it. Okay, there it is. And I want to just show you, first of all, what Dark Structure Enhance does. So if you execute it in the global context and just click OK, notice what it did to these dark structures. Before, after. I have kind of a love-hate relationship with this tool. I do love what it does to the contrast, but notice that it's these had color before, but once you darken them, they're basically just black or dark gray. They're pretty colorless. So what can we do about that? Well, here's what we can do about it. Next time you are thinking about running Dark Structure Enhance, execute it in the global context. Turn the amount all the way down to 0 and click on Extract Mask. Okay. Nothing's going to happen to your image, but you are going to get a mask. Now, this mask wants a little bit of cleanup. So I'm going to open up my clone stamp. I'm going to set the radius to 255, so I have big points. And I'm going to just start painting out all the stuff that I don't want in my mask. Now, I just added some stuff there that didn't really exist, so I'm going to paint it out.
Do you ever just make a black frame and use that for painting?
Yeah, I do. But this had so much black in it already. It was easier. So that's nice and clean now. When you've made this mask, that remember we made this from DSE, I can put this on my image and now do that dark structure enhancement manually with curves. So let's start first of all with the darkness. So again, I'm going to click in here to measure how dark it is and just pull that down. You can see it darkening, and you have a lot of control here. But here's the best part. I can go into the saturation and boost it and bring back all that nice color that DSE was trying to take away. And so now we've got darkening and color maintained. And I've really exaggerated this to show it to you. I wouldn't darken it that much, and I wouldn't color it that much. But something more like that. That's a pretty nice enhancement to those dust lanes, and much more control than you have with just using the script by itself. All right, let's get rid of that mask. Keep the workspace tidy. Okay, the next one I want to talk about is selective color correction. Selective color correction is used for improving the color of images or altering the color of images. It's often used in narrowband images to make for more interesting palettes. I'll take the stars out while I'm talking. But it can also be used for images like this, which was made with an L-Quad enhanced filter from Optolong and a one-shot color camera. And these remove light pollution or suppress light pollution. And in so doing, they also take out a little bit of the blue. So your nebula, although it really pops beautifully, it can end up with this sort of orangey hue. Now, if you go look on the internet and search for the color of hydrogen alpha or hydrogen alpha cathode ray tubes, you'll see that the color of H alpha is really more like bubblegum. That's kind of how I think of it. And the selective color correction script, which is it's in the toolbox where Graxpert lives. Jürgen Turpe did the toolbox. So if you use the selective color correction script, oh, what am I trying to do? I put it here, but I can't actually open it from here. You have to open it from the script menu. And it's down here, selective color correction. And on my Mac, if I don't maximize, the text all gets squished. So let me maximize. Here's what you would normally use this tool for. So I'm going to have it select red. I'll show you what this does in a couple of minutes. And I'm going to probably, not cyan, I'm going to add some magenta. Maybe that's too much. And maybe add a little bit of blue. There we go. And okay. So that's done a pretty nice job correcting the color there. I can apply that. And that's definitely a great use for that tool. So we went from this sort of orangey hue to a nice, more natural looking, to me at least, kind of bubblegummy hue. We could polish that up with curves. But of course, we're here to talk about masks. So let me show you the power of this script for making masks. Again, I have to open it from here. This time, I'm not going to pay attention at all to these sliders at all. What I'm going to do is I'm going to show the mask. And you can see there's the red mask. And the balance is the way that I select more. The shadows is the way that I protect the background. And you can type in here as well. So you've got a lot of control. You can also increase the balance or decrease the balance to get more selection and so on. Once you've got a mask that you're happy with, you just export it. And then pick a different channel. Now, the power of this tool is not just that it's easy to select red, green, or blue, but look at all of the things that you can select for. So for example, we could select just the shadows. And if I show the mouse, that's the shadows there. And again, I can make adjustments to that mask with these sliders. Maybe I just want to get a luminance mask. There it is. That mask can be blurred more or less. So there is so much control within this mask making tool. You can even create and use a star mask so that if you have stars, they won't get affected. So this is, again, an example of a tool that was not designed as a mask making tool, but boy, does it ever do an amazing job. Okay, last but not least, let's look at our galaxy image again. Most astrophotographers are like me, with gray hair or no hair, and old enough to remember when pictures used to come in a modem onto your screen, and they would come in big blocks first, then sort of medium-sized detail, and then the fine detail would come last. It was like a progressive load of different size structures. In PixInsight, those different size structures are called layers, and we use them, layers, in various tools, like in multi-scale, median, transform. For sharpening, we use different layers, but maybe you haven't thought about what those layers are. I want to show you. I think it's easiest to demonstrate this on a black and white picture, so I'm going to extract the lightness again and tuck my original image away. We're going to use a tool called Extract Wavelet Layers that we find in the script image analysis menu called Extract Wavelet Layers. You can right-click it here and execute it in the global context. You just have to tell it how many layers to extract. I'll explain that to you in a minute. Whether you want a residual layer, the answer is yes, you always do. And you have two scaling functions you can choose from. You can try them both, that they're very similar in result. I usually end up using the 3x3 linear interpolation. What I'm going to do is apply this, and it's going to split the image into a number of wavelet layers. Now, these wavelet layers, the interesting thing is I could recombine all these layers using a different script and get the image back. But let's just look at them one by one. So I'm going to start with the very smallest layers. Here, we can put this away, because we're just talking about the masks we can make. So layer 0 is the very, very smallest layers, and there's hardly any detail in there. You can just about see a little bit of detail, but there's not really much there, and certainly nothing useful for making a mask. How about layer 1? Okay. Now we're starting to see fine detail. So if you needed a mask to select fine detail, say, and smooth it, you could start with something like this. You would need to use curves to get some contrast on it, right? But you can really start to select fine detail now. And again, you can use convolution after this. Okay, let's look at layer 2. So these are larger and larger structures. Same idea. Bring up that contrast. Now we're able to really start to select just the things that we want. And you know, you could add layers 1 and 2 together using that mask merge script. See, that's doing a really nice job of selecting that 2-pixel detail. And I won't close this curve because it's kind of convenient. Let's look at layer 3 with the same curve. Maybe a little too aggressive there, because layer 3 is getting more into the galaxy now. So again, another really cool mask making tool. You can go, I'm not going to do them all, but you could go all the way up to the residual and end up with a really nice mask for doing contrast, color. It's very nice and smooth, so it's not going to cause any major damage to any part of your image. I got this contrast curve going before. But I think that might even be too aggressive, you know, something more like that. That's a really nice mask right there. So, some new mask making tools, some old masking tools, and some tools that were not designed for making masks, but they still make great masks. So that's what I've got for you tonight. So I'm going to try and get back here and stop sharing. Here we go.
Well, thanks, Ron. That was very interesting. No matter how much we think we know about PixInsight, there's always a lot to learn.
Oh yeah.
So I've made some notes. I'm going to try some of those things out, especially generating a mask and then essentially convoluting or blurring it.
Oh yeah.
So there's no harsh edges on your adjustments.
Yeah, definitely. Definitely, that's essential.
Alex, there was a question. You see it?
We're good on the questions. I haven't seen any questions of late.
Actually, I think one just popped up. Alex.
That's either
oh, here we go.
Clearer because I really wasn't.
John just sent us a question.
Okay.
A wavelet mask could be used to smooth the background as well.
Any mask can be used for any purpose that you like. The key is that it selects the region that you want to operate on and protects the regions that you do not want to operate on. So yeah, a wavelet mask could be used for that purpose, provided that it selects the background and protects everything else. If I could share my screen again for 1 second.
Sure, go ahead.
Yeah.
That's to say that the wavelet mask itself would not smooth anything. It would just...
No. It's a stencil. You stick it on the box and paint through it. It's a stencil. It doesn't get changed. You stick it on the box and spray TNT through it, right? You spray paint on the box, then you take the stencil off and put it away for another use later on. So
what happens if you break your image into 6?
Hey, we're looking at the infinite screen.
I know. I'm trying to
change that before.
I'm trying to get to. There you go.
What happens if you have 6 layers and add the 5 top ones, the 5 larger ones together, and keep the small detail out of it?
Then you get a mask that is going to be nice and smooth, that has all the large detail and doesn't have any small detail. And and
if small detail is noise, do you benefit?
Yeah, well, the noise, most of the noise lives in the first layer. There's usually some detail in the second, third, fourth, and fifth layers.
Okay, that may be what John's asking. I don't know if you had a image composed of layer 2, 3, 4, 5, 6.
Yeah.
Without
it would look almost identical. It would look almost identical, slightly smoother, because there's very little information there. And if you haven't done noise reduction, it's almost all noise.
Okay, John, if that doesn't answer your question, ask it again, okay? Now, what you were going to say, Ron?
Oh, I think I said it.
Okay.
You could also invert the mask, too.
Oh, yeah, of course. Sure you can. Every mask is 2 masks. Every mask can be inverted. And often, so I do that often with saturation. So think about that galaxy. I might put the mask in place and add saturation to the galaxy, then invert the mask and decrease saturation in the background.
Yeah, nobody likes chrominance on our background.
No.
The one thing for sure, you mentioned convolution. Your eye sees edges. Edges are easy to spot. And if you don't blur all of those masks, you will see the edge for any adjustment that you make. Whether you're using PixInsight or Photoshop or whatever.
Nobody likes a hard edge mask.
No one likes a hard edge mask. Your eye spots it in a heartbeat.
That should go on a t-shirt. No one likes a hard edge mask.
We should do that. No one likes a hard edge mask.
Hey, we've got another question in here. What's the best go-to mask for protecting galaxies, particularly faint outer cloudiness or arms?
He's followed that up with while stretching.
While stretching, I don't use a mask ever while stretching. Right, I would do the mask so that no part of the galaxy, sorry, I would do the stretch so that no part of the galaxy got damaged. And I would start masking after that. So at least the whole image gets an initial stretch, because you want to bring all the pixels into the same nonlinear space. You're really changing the mathematical space of the image. So before stretching, there's a relationship between the brightness of a pixel and how many photons hit that pixel. After stretching, that relationship is gone. It's a linear relationship when you start. That's why those are called linear files. If you got 100 photons hitting a pixel, it's going to be twice as bright as if 50 photons hit the pixel. That's in the linear state. Once you stretch the dark parts more than the bright parts, and that linear function is gone. So that initial stretch really needs to be on the whole image.
Of course, once you stretch, the scientific value of all your data disappears.
Diminished. It's diminished. It's not disappeared. For example, you can still see things that could guide you to do science.
Sure.
So I don't agree that it's gone. It's altered.
No more questions? Are we all set?
That's it for questions. Yeah.
Just right on time.
Yeah, perfect.
Well, if we're all set, are we coming to the end of our show? I think we are. Ron, thanks so much for a great presentation. You're always welcome. You know that.
Thank you for having me. This is one of my favorite places to be. I love seeing all you guys. I wish I could see you in person more soon. But
yeah, it'll happen, Ron. It'll happen.
I'm looking forward to it.
And you're welcome to stay for a few minutes before you have to run off your telescope.
I got 2 telescopes in the observatory that are, maybe they're behaving, maybe they're not.
I don't know.
And
Do you want to look
remember,
with me? Do you want to look with me?
Remember to all the other people watching out there, we did hit 20,000, and that's
20,000,
great.
yay.
Yay! We waited. That last little part took a while to get here, but we need you to subscribe. We need you to subscribe, and also we have some spots open so that you too can sit here on this screen and help us put this program together. We've got a lot of things to do like this, and we've got people that need to help us stream the information, to look for presenters, and to answer the questions and stuff like that. So please join us. Just use the contact part on the Astro Imaging channel website and come on in. Ron, I miss you.
I miss you too, guys.
All right. So with that from Alex, I will say goodnight. And our next show is
September 7th.
September 7th. Please look at the calendar, remember that, and come back. I know by that time you all have missed us and need more information from John. So with that, I'll say goodnight. Ron, if you have like 2 minutes after the show, I have a question for you.
I do.
All right, I'll take us out. Good night, everybody.
Take us out. Good night.
Good night.
See you in a few weeks.
Bye.